And of course, if you have something to ask, there should be decent time as the games are just about to start. So there should be some time to speak as well. In these games, as we started with some really micros, I think these games are going to be pretty interesting in a way, because I think that if we are seeing even players that are knowing the rules, it's going to be good. And Kauris says that OMG, my level of games. Yeah, sometimes. And Kauris asks that, can you beat this $1.50 game? And are you serious? I know that I'm bashing my head against the wall if I'm winning that 50-cent game and dropping out of all of the larger ones. I'm having this $2.50 game in here for a while. But if we are getting, like, optimal would probably be that there is the 50-cent game, $2.50 game, $15 game, and $60 game. And Neo said that not so bad as there is no HUD anyway. And in a $2.50 game, we got a shove. Wow. First, like the second hand of a game, and we got an open shove. It's going to be awesome in these micros. I know it already. So what should we think about in the micros? We should think about value. And now in the second game as well, we are seeing the first hand shoves. And then I think when we are seeing so many first hand shoves, we'll need to start thinking about what we are going to call the first hand shoves with. And I think my basic range for calling the first hand shoves would be somewhere around tens and ace king. And I'm thinking that our opponents might be also jacks and ace king, but I don't think that we can go much weaker than that. And apparently $2.50 games are the games that are running the quickest, as I'm having already 3 of those open. And it's actually really good, because if you are having a bankroll to play those $3.50 games, I think that the games are going to be good. And even if I wouldn't have hit a king here, I would have been c-betting really often with a king high when 2 other guys are just checking. But with the king high, with the pair of kings, it becomes even better. And I'm pot controlling a bit on the turn, and on the river we are trying to get as much value as we can from our opponent. And in here we can see that in the $15 games we are going to see some harder opposition, as we are seeing 2 supernovas next to me. And in general I think supernovas are going to be, or at least I'll know that they'll at least know the rules, so. And in micros we are doing the basic tag strategy, but I'm going to be more aggressive in position than many regular tags, but I'm going to be pretty tight without position, as there will be a lot of players calling, and when we don't have position, the positions we are going to get into if we are opening madly are going to be pretty bad. So, but in position I think that opponents are not going to defend enough or nearly enough, so we are going to attack in position and be a bit more passive in other And in here I'm thinking that I'm going for value still. And then I'm just thinking about what would be the maximum that our opponent will call with a weaker king or a queen. Now I'm having 8 tables running, so the next tables would bring the total up to about 12. I wonder if the 35s and $60 games are ever running. And Habfan folds nothing. That might be it. And Marcus, why do you use the 2.5 PB's opening size from all positions in the beginning? I think that I would open larger at the early stages. At the early stages, but like at the 15/30 level, I'm going to open practically on every position to 2.5x. It's a general preference that as I like to play a bit more aggressively and raise a bit more, then I usually like if I'm having more chips to play with later on. Oh, Marcus Y got a burn on Kauris, on the Tab fans are used to losing. Oh wow. And in here, something like Ace-9 would be more profitable to raise, or something like King-Jack or Queen-Jack, or something that plays well, but with Ace-Deuce it's not going to play well, and so I don't think that increasing the size of the pot in $50 game would be that preferential pre-flop. Rather, we are seeing the flop, and if we are hitting an ace, then we hope that we are using our edge on post-flop game later on, but not increasing the size of the pot for no reason with just Ace-Deuce. I'm trying to also adjust and tune my setup a bit as I have moved to use a larger screen. But I hope the viewing experience is still going to be good. In here against a tight reg, we could also open for mins here. I think that mainly the guys here that are regging a ton of these are probably playing a bit too tight, especially early on. But it doesn't matter that much even when the opponents are playing a bit too tight. And why doesn't it matter? It doesn't matter because in the early stages of the game, there isn't just that much money moving around. And most of the money moves at the later stages. So for someone it might make more sense to like open 2 or 3 tables more and play a really... And in here, we are not going wild with something like 9-3 off when there is a player that's playing a pretty wild range. So, like, it makes sense for the opponents to go for maximum amount of table and concentrating only on the later stages of the game where most of the money is moving. But I think if you are good in early games in these games, you'll still increase your edge. But it's going to be somewhere around 1 to 3% of ROI that's decided at the early games, and not a huge part of it. And I'm seeing right now, when I'm playing also the rest of the tables, right now that I'm seeing a lot of wonky opening sizes. And by wonky opening sizes, I mean that I'm seeing a lot of guys like opening from UTG 5x, so practically on higher buy-ins, it might be that you need to only think about your ranges against the general opening sizes that players are using, but in the lowest limits there are some options that you need to think about, like what do you do against a 5x race, and what do you do against the first 1 or 2 levels when somebody is shoving. So those are things that I don't think that we are seeing that often at $15 or higher. And Marcus, by what bet size do you use from the button on the $8 plus games? I don't think it differs that much from the 50 cents to $60 games. I think that on most parts, going smaller on the button would have some merits, but usually it's going to be that your tools and everything are better geared to think about having one race size from pretty much every position. But I think optimal would be going for a min race from the button pretty early on, because I think that people are playing worse against the min race than they would against a bigger one. And the $35 game opened, and I gave up on the $60 game as it didn't seem to open early enough for our needs. So perhaps some other time. Not quick enough. Not nearly quick enough. And Neo, does it make sense to min raise from the cutoff 2 or just button? I think button is the most obvious spot to raise smaller. But we are talking about which color do we paint the shed in here? We can have opinions about, do you open from early game, do you open with min raise or any other sizing, and in the late game it doesn't matter, because when the stack sizes are about 25 big blinds and smaller, it usually doesn't make much sense to open with anything else than a shove or a min raise. So, and on the early game, when I said that if you are really good in the early game, and actually I missed a bet here, I should have bet with the pocket fours in here, because this is a hand that we are having next to no showdown equity, even though we are having a pair. And when we are betting in the hand, we are never folding out better. But I think that we are folding out weaker hands. And Callion said, well, at least in table optimizer it's possible to define open size from every position in every level if someone wants to. Yeah, but that's also that how much time does it use up if you are defining it for every single level? And as I said, that there is not a lot that you can gain from it. But it's always something that if you want to have a discussion on poker, then talk about the opening sizes from different positions or whatnot, because you will have a discussion always, but I'm a bit unsure that if we are ever having a productive discussion on those and how much time should you use to perfect those. Basically, from small blind we are going to be aggressive, even in these cent games. I think that our opponents are going to be too passive in these situations. So Neo, let me get this right, that you have had like distinct bet sizes from every blind level from every single position, and it took you 20 minutes. But that's completely besides the point. I don't think that if you bet 2.5 or 2 big blinds, I don't think it makes pretty much any long-term difference, or trying to measure that difference for long term is going to be really, really hard. In here, I think that if we are going for value there, it's going to be quite thin, even though we have our ace magnets. And as you could see, ace magnets work. But I think like it doesn't matter that much like how much do you bet, or it matters that you know why you are betting, and it matters a lot more on if you know what hands you are betting with, and that's pretty much the point. And with this, the idea is that we are seeing games from pretty much every level. And right now I'm unsure that should we have 15s and 35s, or should we have an $8 and $35, because I think that the $15 and $35 are going to be pretty close together. And few familiar players in the 35s. Yeah, I'm sure that Talentaki and Hotcheni and Tedrai are going to be players that we have played a lot against. And right now I have just noobishly, I'm having the wrong database open in my poker tracker. So that's why we are not having hands on anyone. Either though I know that these guys, I have played against these guys a lot before, so that was a bit of an oversight. And Marcus, why you are in the $8 game too, luckily different tables so far. It doesn't matter because I'm having a lot of tables that I can switch. So if I'm noticing that we are on the same table somewhere, I'm just going to switch the table up. Like right now we are playing 11 tables, so So I have plenty of options to switch out. And of course, when Marcus Y says that he's in an $8 game, it matters even less because we are not having any $8 games on screen, so. And we are having some interesting situations because we are having Bet Jenny on a $2.5 game that open shoved the second hand of the game, and then we are having Hot Jenny 314. And we min raised, we bet the flop. I think that he's going to. We are not going to get him to give up often enough if we are trying to bluff. And Marcus was still in the $1 normal speed. Those are sick games. Really, really sick. Actually, should ask Neo that when you are using the bet sizing in Stars Helper, does it work always like it should, or does it overshoot or underbet in certain situations? And Rixie asks, do we plus at all in the $0.5? Now I'm unsure on what are you asking there. And this Jack 8 suited, it's going to be about the edge of my range in that situation. And Rixie asked, do we bluff at all? Of course we bluff. And as you have already seen that in the we have like raised from the small blind with I think 9-3 off, so. And I must say that that's something that's certainly not a value-oriented play. It's going to be a bluff. And as I said, that we are going to bluff in situations that we are thinking that the recreational players are not playing well against those, and we will be, for example, we will be shoving a ton more at the later stages of the game, at the late positions, as our opponents are pretty likely they are not well versed in what they should call, and like if they are always calling somewhere around 10 to 20%, and there's a situation that they need to call with 40 or 50%. Those are situations we can make a lot of money in these $0.5 games. And Rixie, in the hand that our opponent had ace-5 suited, we bet pre-flop and then we c-bet the flop with 10 high. So we are bluffing. We are bluffing as well if we are hitting a board that our opponent is likely not hitting at all. So there will be players that are saying that you shouldn't be bluffing in the micros, but that's not true in my opinion. It's just finding the profitable spots. Pocket 5s is going to be pretty nasty in here. I don't think that it's going to be. It's actually really close, but I don't think it's going to be with those stack sizes. We can't even open it and think about it as set mining that much. Something like 7s or 8s I would have opened, but not 5s. And yeah, as Caleon said that, for example, in here against this cheese skis, that when we are betting pre-flop, he just flat calls, there's an ace on the table, we c-bet and the opponent calls. I'm not that happy to get more money in on that board, because if our opponent is having an ace or the 10 there, it's going to be quite likely that there is like no card that will hit the board and that our opponent will be folding. Like there will be no scare card to scare the opponent in that situation. And yes, like after our opponent calls and he like telegraphs to us that, hey, I'm having a nice hand here, then we are going to say, oh crap, we have lost this pot it's going to be pretty likely that we have lost this pot, and now we are cutting our losses in most situations. And it will also be the same if we are in the $35 game and we are against this Gucci. We are going to play really similarly as we are going to play this $50 game. Because I think that this Gucci is not going to be a good player at all. And I think like in these games, if we are looking at this $2.5 game and $35 game, for example, I think in $35 games the regs are going to be of a higher caliber, like Talentaki and Hotcheni are, and the Dry. They are all competent regs, and I don't believe that you are seeing regs of their level at the 2.5s at all. But on the other hand, if we are looking at players like this Gucci, we are going to see players like, even more of those players we are going to see in $0.50 and $2.5 games. We got out of our first $15 game, so let's just replace it. And Kaleon explains it quite well, and of course there's a good point on those hands that are semi-bluffs. And on those situations that we can, and actually in here, even though we don't have antes, because there's one player sitting out and we are having a suited ace there, it's going to be well profitable to just shove. And that's going to be pretty much the differentiator in if you are thinking about a recreational player and a reg. The recreational player is quite likely playing their own cards and playing the absolute hand value of the card. They are like playing those choker poker machines that when you are hitting a flush you are getting paid more than when you are hitting a straight. But in poker, when you are playing poker against people, it's not going to be that when you are hitting the flush, then it's going to be and you are winning more, but you need to hit a good flush. Good flush for it to have value, and if you are hitting with a one low flush card, you are hitting the flush and there's a 4 to a flush on the board, you are usually losing the pot, and playing that kind of a pot aggressively, it's going to be a really big mistake. And Kill for Fun says that none of our foreign viewers get that reference. I think that there are one-handed bandits in pretty much every country. Of course the music isn't the same that you have been used to. That's just the first reference I had in mind to what happens when a recreational player plays the absolute hand strength rather than the relative hand strength. I think I heard somewhere that the music tune, that exact music tune has been played. If this would have been 500 chips to call for 600 chips pot, I would have been calling this, because then we are getting enough. In here, even though Gannibal shoves, I think it's going to be profitable to go over him, as there will be so much dead money in the pot. I think, like I heard somewhere, that the doubling up music in the old Joker Poker machines, it has been played somewhere around 2 billion times. It's like as popular of a tune in the 80s as Gangnam Style is right now on the YouTube. And that's pretty insane if you think about it. And Kill for Fun, why do they play so small if they're also playing 35s? Now I don't get you. We are playing 35s and we are playing 50-cent games, so... And now I'm seeing what's the largest game that is running. That's the $8 game. That's the largest game we are having off screen that we are not having on screen. Let's have this $2.5 game, because this is going to be an example of never give up. And it's going to be important in these situations that you are not just shoving any hand. When there are absolutely no antis in the game, it's going to be good to... You are having time to wait for a decent hand. At 2.5, what do you think was the total range of the small blind push? I'm thinking that the small blind should be pushing somewhere around pocket 7s or pocket 8s. Let's say pocket 6s plus, and perhaps ace-jack suited and ace-queens plus. That's what I'm expecting in that situation. Kill for Fun, like last time that I have played just $30 spin at goes. And all of my games have been at $30 spin at goes, so no, I don't play, but as regular play I have played for like everything from $15 to $100 hypers previously, so... And that's only because you don't get enough volume, or you don't get enough good games if you are just playing the $100 games, or... And there's an orchestral version of the double up music. That should have been actually a shove. I just missed that I'm having 60 chips more. And Marcus Y is in the money with the big stack in a $3.5 rebuy 180 man. So one time. Hopefully Marcus Y hits his one time. Because those $3.5 rebuys, those are nice, because if you are winning those, you are going home with somewhere around $600. In here, next hand we are going to go for it, and with 8-6 off, it's just going to be too weak of a hand to shove, so we are looking for like top 60% of hand on the under the gun that we should shove with, and if we don't get it, then we just fold, and then we are all in at the blinds next hand. And Kill for Fun has made a Humpa version of that tune. That's also something that I can't translate. And Kill for Fun, it's weird how you would even play the games where the first prize isn't even close to what's the buy-in of your normal games. It's actually not that different. And for example, for me, it's going to be that I'm going to be competitive enough that I'm not giving up even though the prize money is smaller than what I'm used to. It's just not in my nature. And we got a pretty nice hand on the blinds, like a big blind special. And Kauris says that maybe the sound would be good for coaching intro. Nope. I can already say you right now that we are not getting rights to play that tune. I'm not even going to ask Ray that could we get the rights to play that tune. We are... remember when you killed that other poker strategy site? And remember when you killed the Finnish part of a site, and remember that's going to be like... We would like to use the music that you have the rights for in our own videos. So could you give us the rights for free, please? And actually now we are going for with these 4 tables only. So these 4 tables are everything we got right now. And Kill for Fun, let's wait 70 plus years and it will be public domain. And Marcus, well, I can record it out of tune so it's not that recognizable. It's also funny because we could actually, we could sell the ad space in our YouTube videos, but the only party that could buy the ads would be, or for the Finnish viewers that are still majority. Actually, they are pretty close to, our viewership is actually pretty close to that we are having more German viewers on YouTube than in... Ace-8 off is going to be nasty, as we are not going to have fold equity in here. And we are not having enough hands to make him a maniac. So Marcus, I can record it out of tune so it's not that recognizable. And as Kill for Fun says that let's wait 70 plus years and it will be public domain. And Rick C, what are your stats in 180 mans? I must say that I don't even know. I haven't played 180 mans in ages. The last time that I played 180 mans more was when I did the $50 to $5,000 challenge, and during that challenge I won a sizable amount at 180 mans. But even it has been on 2012, I think. And after that, I haven't played that much 180 player games. I'm pretty sure that I'm not having a sample size on 180 mans yet. But like these 180 mans, they are going to be all about general MTT, and they are going to be more about just shallow stacked MTT play. And Rixie asked, do you think it's still a good game? I think 180 mans are going to be a good game. Like if you are playing MTTs on Poker Stars, it's like you want to move to scheduled MTTs out of the 180 mans when you are having bankroll to play higher games than the $15. I think when you are starting out to about $5,000 to $7,500 bankroll, if you want to play only on Poker Stars, I think 180 mans are going to be the way to play, because the variance is going to kill you in regular MTTs, because the sizes of the field size is just going to be insane on Poker Stars. But for example, for me, I don't like the 180 mans that much because of the variance and because of the limit on what you can play. Like if I want to have a good 180 and 45 player game session, it will always take for, let's say it makes most sense for me to then play 6 to 8 hours in a row. And it would always need to be at the evening time. And the average buy-in would be around $10. Actually really close in shoving any ace. Any ace with about 6 big blinds. In here, I don't think that even though this guy opens for 3x, I think that he's just going to be a worse player when he opens a 3x, and I think then his range will include worse hands than ace jacks. And even this guy's, when he's shoving, I don't think that I'm... That's something that is to be expected, but I think in general that's going to be that we don't need to have that much equity in that exact pot. And it's going to be really close. There will be some weaker aces and a pocket pair. That's going to be the best case scenario for us. And there are going to be things that there are going to be 2 pocket pairs. That's also good for us if the other pocket pair isn't higher than jacks. And there's also a situation, and then there is a situation when there is going to be a better ace than ours, and that's going to be a sucky situation. Otas shoves for 4 big blinds. If there would be someone with about 2,000 chip stack, then going for it and shoving over the top would make sense. But when the stack size is so big behind us, I don't think that the shove would make that much sense. We got a limper that basically shoves on the $2.5 game. We are having bottom pair and a weak flush draw, and I don't think that we are getting enough equity in that situation. So, as I said, that I prefer playing games with less variance, less players. But I think MTTs these are going to be a good game as your first game to play, because MTTs are the game that require, I think they require least amount of technical or play technical skill to win in, but to play those professionally, it's going to be mentally, they are going to be the toughest games there are. In the Queen Jack suited hand, calling is not an option. It was an option that I was thinking about, so I was thinking about folding, calling and shoving. And calling would be good in a way that we can then react to whatever the Makit guy is doing. I just think that we are going to get shoved on decent amount of time, and then we are just having dead money in the pot. There will be some protection that there are a lot of players in these games that are only playing nuts in the similar way. So that's the additional protection on. And Rixie asks, is the Turbo MTT strategy the same as Turbo 180 man? Yeah. And the Turbo 180 man strategy is pretty similar to Turbo 45 man strategy. And Callon, I agree that it would look for a reg in BB, it would look pretty strong. And go Marcus in the final table, but I'm taking a break in here and we'll be back when the tables come back.